Today we're joined by Chris Kirchhoff. Chris is an angel investor and over the past several years has coached over a dozen CEOs of medium and large-sized companies over the U.S. Prior to that, Chris was the president of Acco Brands, a global manufacturer and service provider. And previously to that, Chris was a vice president and general manager for Hewlett-Packard, where he managed businesses ranging from 700 million to over $1 billion. Welcome, Chris. Over your many years of running these businesses, I'm sure you've had the opportunity to both deal with senior consultants as well as lead and supervise senior consultants. When you were on the receiving side of that relationship and as you began to work with a new consultant, what were some of the things you were looking for to happen in those early times of establishing the relationship?
Yeah, I think one of the main things was for the consultant to be prepared, to come into a meeting, particularly a first meeting, ready to add value right away.
When you talk about adding value, what types of value were you expecting in that first meeting?
Well, first of all, I would want the person to not come in completely cold. I would want them to have done their homework. I'd want them to know about my company, to know the business that we're in, to know who our customers are, who our competition is, to have kind of read our annual report and our investor communications and those basic kinds of things so that we can start the session at a deeper level than some of that kind of information that the consultant should have had coming into the meeting.
Yeah, if I'm hearing that right, basically to extend what you should expect them to know and then go deeper into something where they might really be asking from curiosity or lack of detailed knowledge, but it's appropriate. They've started at an appropriate place. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that puts the conversation in a position where they're listening more and they're getting me to talk, which is a more engaged position to be in than if I'm just sitting there listening to, somebody drone on. And, they may be off base as they drone on. I'm likely to get distracted if they're doing that. And by using a technique of an interview sort of technique where they're asking questions, that enables me to be engaged. It enables me to stay kind of focused on what it is we're talking about, but it allows them to demonstrate their credibility and their competence by the kind of questions that they ask and how they lead that conversation. They should maintain control in doing that as well, by not having me just drone on either. They can break it up with intelligent questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is it all right for them to be working from some prepared notes or some things they were hoping to get out of the meeting?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think they should have a goal, and I think having notes is a perfectly acceptable way of doing that. For them to stay on task. But I think too they shouldn't kind of read from a script. They should have sufficiently done their homework and know the subject matter, grok it if you will. And be able to demonstrate that by how they lead the conversation, how they respond to my answers to their questions, and it's a branching exercise that enables them in a way to really demonstrate their abilities as a consultant, because they can guide that kind of conversation and lead it interactively. And it's just a much more powerful approach for them than coming in and just spilling their guts and trying to impress me with what they know and babbling on. They're in control, but they're listening more than they're talking.
Right. It sounds like, too, that it would feel more like a conversation between industry colleagues or management level colleagues or peers.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's where I would be comfortable, and if I were in their shoes, that's where I would want it to be. And I think that's a kind of a higher plane to operate from. But they have to earn that. But they earn that pretty quickly if they're leading that dialogue and asking the right questions and responding to my responses with ever increasing relevant information, some of which may be in the form of questions, and in other cases it may be them explaining something that they've gained from their experience as they've worked with peers, perhaps. And those kinds of things add tremendous value and build credibility quickly early on in an engagement with a consultant.
Yeah. Now, salespeople or consultants that are obviously at some point trying to earn your business, they're going to want to drop some nuggets of their value and where it might go. How do they do that in the context of the type of conversation you're talking about?
Well, I think I think largely that depends on the complexity of whatever it is that they're selling or delivering, as it were, and maybe the goal is a next meeting where they can present sort of a straw man of a proposal. Maybe like I said, I think a powerful next step may be a meeting with someone who might be my industry colleague, but as it happens is another one of their, have a conversation around what they did. And then, there's a natural lead from that into, we can do a version of this for you, and here's what that would look like. And here's what I think we could achieve and how long it would take and what it would cost and all of those kind of things. But like you said, in a more of a peer-to-peer sort of management dialogue, and that back and forth is more natural than just kind of walking in with a typed up proposal ready to go that I'm not ready for.
Right. And there's no way you could have had any impact on framing it if they walk in with it typed up and ready to sign, right?
And you wouldn't believe how often that happens.
Sadly, I think I would. All right, so just closing thoughts, Chris. What other behaviors would you encourage consultants to learn and to use in their conversations with people at your level?
Well, to exhibit really active listening skills and to demonstrate that they're listening and hearing and understanding, and a lot of that is through that back and forth discussion with questions involved, to show a real, a curious mind, if you will, about business and about perhaps technology, if this is a technology related service or business that I'm involved in, and just show an interest. And I think, by following this sort of approach, they will have shown and illuminated, if you will, their abilities, hopefully toward the positive for them. But, honestly, if they're asking me, questions that are, not deeply considered questions that are built on the dialogue, or that, show they don't really know what they're talking about, that's helpful to me too, because I know that this is the last meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, you're wanting the tennis match to be fairly well matched, and you want to have them volley and parry, and you want to be able to go back. And again, sort of not only peers and colleagues, but kind of at the same skill level, conversationally.
Yeah, when I say I want them to, guide a conversation, I mean that, but at the same time, there's no illusion that I'm still not able to grab control, if and when I need to. And I think that's that back and forth sort of peer-to-peer dialogue that you referred to as well, and that it does become back and forth. I'm not going to just sit there and let them completely drive, but I want to be able to see their ability to do that and to guide that conversation and add value through their approach to that conversation.
That's great. Chris, this has been extremely helpful. Thanks for taking the time. I'm sure that our viewers are going to get quite a bit out of it, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome, Jim. Nice to talk to you.
Good to talk to you. Bye now.
Bye-bye.